What communication barriers do you encounter when talking with elderly?
Well, a lot of the time when I talk to old people, it's because, you know, they've been around longer and they're stuck in their old times.
There's definitely going to be some because they grew up in a different generation. I feel like every generation the gap just widens and widens.
All they do is do this.
I feel like I'd be very careful with what I say and how I say it.
The most common barrier is their peer group.
Typically a conservative viewpoint on life.
And you ask them a question and they'll look at you and go, oh yeah, I know that. Oh, yeah, that's usually the way they answer you.
So when they talk, they think they're always right, and that's not the way it is today.
Like for my grandma, one time I said hella, and she didn't know what I meant, number one, because number one, hell's a bad word to them, but she didn't know why I put at the end of it. So she was like offended, but confused at the same time.
Their peer group. If I say something to Sage who's 5, she looks at her friends who are 5 years old to get their reaction before she listens to me.
I don't like the awkwardness. I don't like the withdrawal if I try to speak to some older people sometimes about certain things.
And then they go back to what this is, which is nothing. They have nothing in common.
Most of the people in this generation don't know what it's like to not have a cell phone, to have to like work really hard for your money and stuff like that. So I definitely think that, yeah, a lot of older people sort of discount you because of that.
If I say something to a college student, as example, they will look at each other and they'll all communicate before they get back to me.
It's hard because I don't dislike old people and I don't care. I mean, the way they communicate is totally different now than what it was then. But it can be taxing. Sometimes I just openly avoid them.
So there's a lot of things that they do that are offensive to me, but because they are older, I'm supposed to worry about offending them, not the other way around.
So the barrier is eye contact and not just going people to people.
How do you picture an elderly person?
For men, they got that kind of side swoopy hair that used to be fashionable in the 50s, like when they usually polymade or whatever, that hard shell stuff. They still think they have hair, but they don't, so their hair is like really shiny. And all the women have that cotton hair, like that cotton candy puff thing going on. It's always like branches out and then whoop.
Well, because, you know, their body has aged a lot, sometimes they may have some physical needs.
Pants up here, you know, strapped high. Every once in a while I see suspenders, which is kind of awesome. You know, no one rocks a suspender anymore, and maybe they can bring it back.
What do you consider elderly?
If you're too old to function properly, then you're elderly.
Are you afraid of getting old?
I do fear getting old.
I'm very worried about it.
No, I'm actually pretty excited to get old. I want to get old.
Because I know somewhere when I'm trying to talk to somebody young, there's going to be somebody just like me with the same reactions and just...
I'm afraid of losing my mind. That's probably my biggest fear in life, I would say. And not to assume that all old people get like that, but you can never know what part of your genetics will come out.
Well, you definitely have a lot of people making fun of you, so...
I'm just gonna steal shit all the time. I just do the best like old things ever. Treasure hunts, all the like. So just you know, cool old people stuff.
You have a bunch of young people, and then they say, "Oh, you're old. You're not cool, and you can't be in our group." And
there's a big fear for me to have Alzheimer's or dementia. I would hate for my family to have to put up with me being like that for 10 to 15 to 20 years, and that be my family's remembrance of me.
Young people, teenagers, young adults, the way they view their parents will probably be the same thing, where, you know, they think that, you know, they're old and too dysfunctional for society.
What frustrations occur when you are interacting with elderly?
Well, when I talk to old, I pay very good attention to detail, and, you know, the smallest thing about old people just makes it very hard to communicate. Like, they could have bad breath.
I would say at my job, sometimes I have to speak a little bit slower or a little bit louder. But in general, if you put on the charm and you're smiling a lot and you're really respectful, usually it works pretty well.
I don't know. I know boy last year kept calling me old lady all the time.
Every aspect of their existence is slow. I mean, I understand, but oh my God, I can't handle it sometimes when I'm in the left lane and you're going 60. I just go around you and I yell at you. I know you don't see me because you don't see anything.
You know, sometimes if they're a little bit hearing impaired, then of course, you know, they're going to have a little harder time hearing, you know, what you're saying.
But it didn't get me mad because I said one day you're going to be old too.
Pretty slow. Like getting in and out of cars is pretty much like the worst old people thing. Buses. But other than that, I mean, old people, they were once young.
They also tend to talk really softly. It makes it hard to listen to them. And they shake. And shaking in the voice, you know, some of the words get mixed up in translation.
They lose focus on what you're saying, and then you have to always, you know, repeat yourself. And
Slow. It's just everywhere they go is slow. And I feel bad. I do feel bad because I can't expect this person to move fast. How could I? They've got rheumatism.
Just their pace of life is maybe the only setback for them.
What's the first word that comes to mind when thinking of the elderly?
Saggy.
Yeah.
Loose bowels.
Wrinkles. Fringes.
Gray. Smelly.
Smelly. Wisdom. Oh, lovey-dovey couples. I don't know.
I think for the most part, I think that would be a goal. Is, you know, if you see an elder and they're in trouble or if they need help, then to, you know, do what you can to help them.
Their revolts are just much better than our revolts. It's just a different name they put to it.
We invented the don't trust anyone over 30.
Yeah, I mean, prey upon people's emotions. No conscious propaganda. I mean, there was certainly an element of propaganda.
Well, let's put it, no, but the people who wrote it knew that it was mythology. They didn't write it and present it as though this is what was really out there.
It's television. I mean, 2.5 Men.
For entertainment.
Yeah.
See what you did?
Charlie Sheen doesn't know that.
Breaking down how we set up the table. There's actually a literal divide between
people are sitting, yeah.